Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a deeply personal and honestly, a highly hidden reality, age-linked fertility among professionals and academics. Look, if you've spent years, maybe even decades, grinding for advanced degrees, building a highly demanding career, or even navigating the incredibly complex path of immigration, you know firsthand that trying to balance those huge ambitions with family planning can feel like an absolutely impossible puzzle. So today, we're going to look at the data with a lot of empathy, zero judgment, and a real focus on how we can better support one another.
Okay, let's get right into it. This explainer is actually based on a brilliant comprehensive article put together by Dr. Mojtaba Azadi, and it pulls from highly credible academic papers and scientific resources. You can go ahead and scan the QR code right here on your screen to read the full research for yourself. Dr. Azadi has spent years studying biomechanics and fertility, and his work perfectly captures why so many incredibly driven individuals hit unexpected roadblocks right when they're finally ready to start a family.
Here's a quick look at our roadmap for today. We'll cover the global fertility reality, the clash between biological clocks and career dreams, the hidden costs of waiting, navigating the hype around IVF, and finally, how to break the workplace silence.
Starting right off with Section 1, the global fertility reality.
To put things into perspective right out of the gate, a staggering 17.5% of the global population experiences fertility struggles at some stage in their lives. Just think about that for a second. That is a massive portion of humanity walking this exact same path. And the wild part, they're often doing it in total silence, just wondering why it isn't happening for them the way they planned.
When you break that down into our day-to-day lives, that 17.5% translates to about 1 in 6 people across all regions globally. This isn't just some rare clinical anomaly. It's a shared human reality. Whether you're sitting in a boardroom, a laboratory, or a classroom, look around. Someone near you is more than likely carrying this exact same heavy truth.
That brings us to Section 2, biological clocks versus career dreams.
So, when we introduce the demanding timelines of higher education and professional advancement, the tension really starts to tighten. People dedicating years to their ambitious dreams, we're talking grad students, postdocs, academics, doctors, they unintentionally stretch their family timelines to the breaking point. Because if you're spending your 20s and early 30s in a brutal residency or chasing tenure, you become incredibly vulnerable to age-linked fertility challenges.
And you can see the stark biological reality right here. It's tough to hear, but we literally cannot outwork biology. Natural fertility softens in the mid-30s and drops sharply after 35 for women. But, hey, it is absolutely not just a female issue. Men see a significant decline beginning around 40 to 45, which increases risks for miscarriage and actually affects long-term child health. The biological clock is ticking for everyone, plain and simple.
The data really proves how heavily this impacts the highly educated. Get this, 54% of women with master's degrees delay having children past their 20s. And tragically, this path of extended education lifts overall infertility risks by 30%. If we look at female physicians, a staggering 25% suffer from infertility. That is way above the national average. These are incredibly driven people left completely vulnerable just because the system demands their prime reproductive years.
We also really need to acknowledge the reality for immigrants. Uprooting your life and moving to a new country takes immense energy. You're overcoming structural challenges, trying to settle into a new career, figuring out healthcare access. It's a lot. Because of these socioeconomic barriers, immigrants frequently have to postpone family planning. Studies actually show these settling challenges can trim fertility by 10 to 15% in just the first 5 years of arrival.
Moving on to Section 3, the hidden costs of waiting. Postponing parenthood isn't just a biological gamble, right? Emotionally, waiting weaves this sort of gentle underlying stress into your later years. Children born to older parents might face the really tender sadness of losing their parents much sooner. We're talking about the reality of adult orphanhood and taking on heavy caregiving burdens around age 40 or 50. It stirs up feelings of loneliness and a much sharper sense of fleeting time for these families.
And economically, the hit is massive. Delaying past 35 can cause a 3 to 4% income drop per child for women due to career pauses. Plus, when you look at the out-of-pocket costs of fertility treatments, the numbers are just eye-watering. A successful round of IVF can easily exceed $61,000 in just 18 months. That kind of financial burden can be absolutely crushing, especially for lower-income or immigrant families who are already navigating systemic hurdles.
This flows right into Section 4,
navigating misleading IVF hype. As natural fertility declines, it's no surprise a lot of professionals turn to science for help. But the $8 billion IVF industry has a habit of advertising heavily cherry-picked success stories. They target young, fertile individuals with aggressive marketing for elective egg freezing. But what they usually fail to mention is the immense emotional strain, the relationship stress, and the scientifically validated age-specific realities of the treatment. It essentially creates a false safety net.
And here is the major myth we desperately need to debunk today. So many people believe IVF can just save the day at any age. But while success rates hover around 50% for women under 35, they drop drastically in your late 30s. By the time a woman is over 43, using her own eggs, success plummets down to low single digits, just 4%. The narrative that you can wait as long as you want because IVF will catch you is sadly incredibly misleading.
Finally, Section 5, breaking the workplace silence.
We cannot keep operating in the dark on this. Institutions need to step up. Thankfully, organizations like the American Medical Women's Association, or AMWA, have successfully started bringing this hush topic into the open. By organizing dedicated physician fertility summits, they recognize that medical training perfectly overlaps with prime family-building years. And instead of sweeping it under the rug, they decided to actually talk about it.
This is a brilliant blueprint for all institutions. Workplaces have to end the silence. They need to acknowledge fertility as a fundamental health issue, not just some personal career choice. Institutions should be promoting reproductive life plans early in a professional's career, facilitating these open conversations, and fiercely advocating for inclusive healthcare that actually covers fertility treatments. Seriously, nobody should have to sacrifice their career advancement just to have a family.
We want to wrap up this explainer by validating your unique journey. As Dr. Azadi beautifully writes in his research, your story holds deep value. You are not alone on this path. Yes, the statistics we've looked at today might seem super daunting, but there is always hope. Whether it's through medical support, adoption, mentoring, or simply building awareness, finding community is the absolute key.
Now that the veil has been lifted on the true biological, emotional, and economic costs of delayed dreams, it is time for us to act. If we want a world where brilliant professionals don't have to choose between their life's work and starting a family, our workplace culture has to shift. So, I'll leave you with this. How will you help drive this vital conversation forward and break the silence around fertility in your own community?